Hello. Yes, we're back. Took a little bit of a summer break. Took a little bit, it's summertime. We all have lives, things to do, and there's really nothing going on in the basketball world. So no need to have a show every week. So we took a little bit of time for ourselves, enjoy time with our families and friends, and pretty much take off July. But we are creeping closer and closer to the start of the NBA season. So we decided, let's throw together a show for tonight. Let's talk about what's going on in not only with the Knicks, but in the NBA as a whole. Some exciting news happened in the NBA as well. So we're going to touch on a couple of topics. But of course, we'll keep it Knicks focused and Knicks centered. I am one of your co-hosts, of course. I am Eric. Let me bring on Ty, because Joe is probably not joining us today. So it's just me and you, Ty. So how have you been? It's been a minute.
Yeah, miserable as ever. No basketball. I'm gonna be happy without any basketball, So 60 days. Let the countdown begin.
Yes, 60 days. Like I said, we didn't do a show, haven't done a show since Mike Brown got hired.
Yeah.
So it's been about a month now. That was the last show I believe we did. So it's been a minute. Stuff has happened. Like I said, in the NBA as a whole, there's been a couple of interesting things that have happened. But closer to home, let's stick closer to home because, of course, this is a Knicks-centered show. Closer to home, the biggest news we've gotten in that time is probably that the Knicks have extended Mikal Bridges with a 4-year, $150 million extension. I have feelings about this, but I know you do too. So I'll defer to you to lead off the discussion about this. What do you think of the extension? Did you expect it? Things of that nature. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it was to be expected. I kind of felt like the Knicks, what were they going to do? You gave up the whole kitchen and your entire house to get this guy, and to watch him fly away in the middle of the night to another team, or you don't want to pay the ultimate price by actually extending him. I think the Knicks would have probably been considered the laughing stock of the NBA. Something that they're more concerned about nowadays, more so than ever, is the cosmetics of the team and what it looks like. They're very image conscious. That's the biggest thing that this front office seems to have focused on. Also with the whole mantra of being family first, basically, is what you see. They liken themselves to a large extended family of players that have come together and they get along, blah, 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 blah. You hear the whole story. So Mikal Bridges is like, well, let's show you how much we love family. How about you pay me a little bit of money? So the question mark always was whether or not the extension would come before August 5th, more so because of the moratorium where he could be traded or not traded for 6 months. The Knicks actually got him in there right amount of time. They got him right there where it's actually 6 months and a few days before the trade deadline is over. So it was a calculated move by the Knicks. For a while it lingered. Obviously, everyone knows that everybody's been waiting for the shoe to drop, so to say, and Mikal Bridges was that shoe. Mainly because, we've heard about that big Greek freak that's in Milwaukee. May not want to, live with Laverne and Shirley anymore. He wants to maybe explore his options on the landscape of the NBA, and he has said on video, whether it was candid or pre-recorded or whatever, he's in the island, he's sitting at a bar, and it just happens to have a camera on. And he says, "Oh, they're trying to convince me to go to New York." So we know the rumors. There's been a little flamed action. Knicks fans have been in a little bit of a debate whether or not he's somebody they want to trade for or they are lusting after him. So, I think probably the word got back that the Knicks are not in the hunt. I don't think they're in the hunt, even if Mikal was part of that package. But in the same sense, the Knicks had to make a move and solidify what they're going to do moving forward. And lo and behold, Knicks fans, this is our team. If you were wondering what our team is, this is officially the New York Knicks team, barring some big major trade of Karl-Anthony Towns. This is your championship team. So I'm not shocked, to be expected. I don't think they have another move. Even if, like I said, even if you dangle Mikal Bridges, I don't think there's another move the Knicks could actually make other than signing him to an extension. This is what we have, folks. This is going to be it. So strap on your seatbelt because your championship window has just begun in the next 3 years.
Yeah, I was a little surprised that they did it now. I do know that if they waited a year, he could have gotten like a bigger deal. And I forget how much more he could have gotten, but it could have been, I think he could have signed for 5 years instead of 4 or something like that. And it could have been a little bit more money. So he did take a little bit less. They said, he took off about $6 million. Yeah. I mean, he could have given it to me. I'd be fine with a little $6 million in my pocket.
Jersey and everything.
But I'm not as big as fan as we know. I've never really liked him much. Going back to his Villanova days, I always thought he was kind of the inflated one of the three. Now, look, going back, I gladly would have drafted him over Kevin Knox, but that's that whole draft, like we've talked about it many times, like all around Kevin Knox, the guys have been pretty good players, and he's the one that we took. So, we took the wrong Kentucky guy, right? We should have taken Shea.
Shout out to June, who was a big Shea. So
June was a big supporter of Shea's even back in his Kentucky days. So he saw it. We didn't all see it, but he saw it. Yes,
he saw it.
He did. So, I mean, for your point of they had to do it, yes, they probably did. Like it would have been. I've said many times that package they gave up for him, and even when they did it, I said, "Well, this is your team now because this is essentially that's it."
That's it.
Right. So those are the assets that they had. And yeah, they definitely had to do it. Or if they weren't going to extend him, to me, they probably would have had to trade him now. Like it probably would have had to been some kind of deal this summer. So it was kind of inevitable that this happened. My whole thing was, and we talked about this when they extended Julius Randle this season early, like, I don't like doubling down on a problem, in my opinion, or a possible problem that you might have. Again, my feelings on him aside, he did have some big moments in the playoffs. He has proven in the past that he could be more than what he has shown for us. I just have a problem with the lack of consistency that he shows. His ability, sometimes his I don't want to say he doesn't show up, but he just kind of floats around on the game and doesn't really make an impact. It's not really doing much.
Yeah.
And to me, you don't give those kinds of guys that kind of money. And that's just my opinion. So I was a little surprised they did it this year because I kept thinking, well, I'm like, well, if they wait next year, he's an expiring contract over this season. That's always an attractive piece. And then he could be someone else's problem if the Knicks don't want to keep him.
Yeah.
On the flip side, though, the fact that he is locked into a specific number, that also helps in a trade because you do know now what you have, right? Like the teams know exactly what he is going to be getting paid for the next 4 seasons. So even from that standpoint, I kind of get it in a sense that now, okay, we have whatever the number is for him in a trade availability. It was very slick of them to sign him when they signed him.
Yeah.
Because now he is eligible to be traded at the trade deadline. I mean, it's amazing how these things work out. But if they do want to include him in a deal, that option now does at the trade deadline, that option does exist for them to do now. So now that we have, like you said, we have the structure of this team. We know who the players are. There's probably not going to be anything else unless something shocks us. We'll get to Giannis later. I did have that on the rundown. Right. We'll get to Giannis a little bit later. But seeing that with the additions we made, who do you think of the players we have is going to be the odd man out? Because there is going to be a guy who doesn't get minutes that probably should.
It's 2 guys that I'm wondering about, and it also comes down to the vet that they decide to sign. If they sign we'll probably talk about the Ben Simmons if they sign him.
Yes,
versus
we're
Shea.
gonna get on that as well. Yes,
I think those things will weigh and factor into the names that I'm about to bring up. There's just a funny feeling for me that Deuce McBride is going to be the odd person out for some reason. And it's because I'm looking at what it is that he provides. Because if we're going to believe that there's going to be probably a new starting five. So you're bringing Josh Hart probably to the bench. I can't see him not. In that dynamic, you now have Jordan Clarkson, you have Josh Hart, you have Deuce McBride, you have Hakporti, Yabusele. Now, you have all these names. So the disbursement of minutes is going to be pretty interesting because outside of all those other guys, Clarkson, no, because he's not getting paid that much because it's a prorated thing that he was bought out. However, they brought him in there for one particular reason, which is to assure the scoring on the bench. So when you start looking at the pecking order of the Knicks, you're saying, well, Josh Hart's getting paid more than Deuce McBride. Yabusele's getting paid more than Deuce McBride. Hakporti, he's a need. He's a 5. He's obviously going to play backup minutes, maybe even starting minutes, depending on how Mitch pans out. So now you're asking yourself, who's the odd person out? Is Deuce McBride, who is an undersized 2-guard. Let's just keep it what he is. He's not too much of a point guard, a little bit of combo, but mostly he's an undersized 2-guard, more of a catch-and-shoot person. Could he work well with Clarkson? I think absolutely, because I think Clarkson has more playmaking ability than people give him credit for. But in the same sense, I'm looking like, well, Deuce makes probably like $2 million. So it's like the high ticket is what usually gets played in the NBA. Not saying that Mike Brown is going to do a Thibodeau. Clearly, we understand and hear that he extends his bench. He's willing to go into the depth of his bench and play guys that he feels works, which is great. But when you start hearing these names, like I said, we're going to get into Ben Simmons and those guys later, obviously. But you're always hearing about somebody trying to bring in someone who's a backup to the position that some guys already occupy. So in Ben Simmons, obviously he's versatile. He can play like a couple, 3 positions. Maybe not shooting guard, but he can play up, front court, back court, point guard, small forward. So he's got at least 3 positions he can kind of fill. You look at Deuce McBride, and he's really, due to size, he's actually boxed into that position that he's going to play off the bench. If you add in another vet that you plan on utilizing more, how does Deuce get minutes? You're saying obviously his specialization is shooting 3s. That's on catch and shoots. He's not doing anything other than that. Are you going to put him at the point of attack and use him as defense if you're bringing in Ben Simmons? Probably not. You're probably not going to use him as much. So I think depending on where this lands with this last veteran minimum signing, if it's Shamet, I think Deuce has a shot. If it's Ben Simmons, I think Deuce is getting buried somewhere on the bench and maybe used for situational situations, say someone gets injured and all of a sudden he gets the minutes. Because for some reason I can't see Hart going away. Because from what we're hearing, well, at least what I've heard from people reporting out of Sacramento about Mike Brown, they said Josh Hart, much like he was with Thibodeau, is going to be an ideal person that Mike Brown's going to want to play. So I'm thinking Deuce McBride is going to be the odd person out because of one, he's not getting paid as much, and also if you bring in someone else, they're going to replicate exactly what he does outside of Ben Simmons, who won't shoot a duck in Duck Hunt. So we're not worried about him shooting at all. He only even got that video game. He's not playing Nintendo Duck Hunt at all. He don't shoot at all. But when we're looking at Deuce McBride, I think his specialty may suffer a little bit because you're now saying the role he was coming off the bench with, which was like an energy person, a scoring punch off the bench, JC now occupies that. So where is Deuce going to go as this moves forward if he's not going to be within the starting lineup?
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting for me to see how Clarkson fits in, only because I know why they signed him, but I feel like he still has something to prove with this group. So it's going to be interesting for me to see how he fits in. I know what he's capable of. I know he's instant offense, right? He's one of those guys who can come in and give you points and has proven it at a very high level. So I totally see that he's going to have to play or is probably going to work his way into the rotation.
Mhm.
I do think I also have to see how the starting five pans out. Like, does he keep the OG at the 4 thing, which I hope he doesn't? Does he go to a more traditional, which is what we thought, like having Mitch at center and Towns at power forward? And to me, that would be the best way to go. You maximize everyone's talent then in the starting 5 if you have a more traditional unit. I think it would be a mistake for McBride to lose minutes to some of those other guys, specifically because of his age, because to me, he's just a younger player. Yeah. He's a sneaky athlete. Like, he's a better athlete than people give him credit for. Yes, I think he was starting to figure out a little bit of a dribble drive game this past year. I feel like the injuries he had kind of slowed him down. Like, he had a couple of nagging injuries that kind of slowed down his development. But that's what I mean. I think it will be between those two. One of them is probably going to be unhappy. I don't know which one. I think you could play it situationally. Like, if you need more scoring, we need Clarkson tonight. If you need a little bit more defense and energy, maybe you go with McBride. But I feel like they're going to have to balance that out. I do wonder how the other guys fit in. The second year guys now with the Kolex, and you run up Huckporty. Does Huckporty really slide in now to the backup center position? I thought he looked good. No. What are they going to do with in summer league anyway? What are they going to do with Daddier as well? Like, what's his future? Diawara showed a little bit in summer league as well, and he decided to stay over here, so not go back to France. So there's a lot of question marks regarding this lineup. And to answer that question, I'm hoping, this is my hope, that outside of of course, guys are going to play because they're getting paid, let it be an open competition. Let all these other guys fight it out in camp and play the best guys. Obviously, you can massage it during the season, but I think it has to be based on merit because they do have a lot of players. Now they are a deeper team now than they were last year. I mean, if Thibodeau was coach, I don't know what he would do. Like, it's I didn't even think about with the players they have now. If they had kept him, what would he be doing? It's a strange yet cool thing to be a part of. As you brought up, Mike Brown, we know he does go deeper into the bench. He will go 10 deep if he needs to, maybe even 11, depending on the situation. So it is going to be an interesting thing to see how the roster plays out, but I'm here for it. Like I said, I really do hope it's an open competition and everybody gets a shot. So you brought him up, so I'm going to throw him out there now. And the reason I have it with the question mark and exclamation point is because I have been a fan of this guy's for a long time. I used to last time I've defended him in the past.
Yes.
But even I'm at the point now where I'm like, all right, I'm done. I can't defend this dude anymore. Like, last year was kind of the final straw. I thought, have more of an opportunity, especially you started with Brooklyn. I'm like, maybe, figure something out. Man, this guy just does not want to play basketball. I don't care what he says. I know he keeps he's going to sign somewhere. He does it because that's how he gets paid and he's to a lifestyle. But I do not see how this guy wants to play basketball. So do you think if they sign him, do you think he's guaranteed anything, or do you think it would be like a camp invite and see what happens?
I wanted to touch on one thing about Ben Simmons. I laughed because people was like, oh, there's a competition from Ben Simmons. I'm like, ain't no damn competition. He'd be signed right now if it was a competition. No, the agents are brilliant by putting that out there and making people feel like desired, or everybody's in the Ben Simmons lottery. It's nobody he's a scratch off that somebody threw in the garbage. There's no lottery for Ben.
He's the $2 scratch off where you get to give it back and get another one. That's what he is.
Pick 5 play, free pick 5 for play. It's not nobody wants. Don't get me wrong. It's not because of the talent. We can move that out the way. We know Ben Simmons is talented, but he has he's made his bed, lied in it, got bed hair, came out of it, lied back in it again. And lo and behold, we have this shell of what this player is. And we can understand the tease, what do you call it? Just the tip. That's whoever your guy was in the football. You said that's the tip. That's him. Ben Simmons is the tip. It's like you see it and you're like, you might get a little bit, but you gotta, it's just a tease. It's just a tease. So when we look at Ben Simmons as a collective, I mean, I do get the whole idea about why the Knicks would look at him. If you can untap the potential, see, these are all ifs. If you can get him motivated, if you can have him play at some sort of respectful level, this guy could obviously do a lot of great things for the New York Knicks because he can probably defend 5 positions. Just put him on. He can defend 5 positions. He's excellent in the open court, definitely with his passing. He has all those tools. He has the size. What he doesn't do well is he has Ntilikina in his vein. He won't shoot. He's not a scorer. If you're looking for him to do those kind of things, that's not going to be this dude. So, I can understand the tease of it. If the Knicks can get him for $3 million, and you're saying maybe this guy can come in, maybe he can give you these things. It's not the worst gamble. I do happen to believe, though, that Ben Simmons probably has some, which is very scary to even hear this term being used, but I think he has a mandate for whoever signs him. I think he's expecting something to be guaranteed that he doesn't have to work for. I think he's looking at any kind of place where he lands like he wants a position guarantee and he wants to know his fit. Well, dude, you were one of the top elite players in the league for what you did. I'm not saying he was a scoring savant, clearly, but everything else Ben Simmons was pretty much elite at, whether it was defense, passing, rebound, guys like almost a walking triple-double when he was healthy and motivated. So now we're sitting here with this guy now. If he's asking and making demands, I mean, you can't bring that into camp. You can't bring that into camp because we know what the pecking order in here is. Jalen Brunson, then it's Karl-Anthony Towns. Then there's a toss-up between the other two dudes, OG and Mikal Bridges. They're going to eat before Ben Simmons ever gets into a buffet line. So when we look at that aspect of it, it's like, where will you fit in? Should he start before Deuce McBride? Absolutely no. Should he be before Jordan Clarkson? Absolutely no. Should he be before Josh Hart? Absolutely no. Because Josh Hart actually, if was taller, does a lot of the things that Ben Simmons can do in the open court. And he will shoot. He's a reluctant shooter, but he still shoots more. So Ben Simmons is like the 9th or 10th guy if he came here with the expectation that you might get 5 minutes or situational minutes. So, bring him in for money, $3 million. I mean, it's a nice gamble. I just don't know if I would bring him in if he has expectations of being the Ben Simmons from Philly. If he thinks he's got that kind of cachet, he's definitely telling a lie to himself. So,
yeah, I mean, the whole, like you said, the whole talent standpoint, that's not a question. He is a supremely talented guy. He won first. I mean, you don't go first in the draft if you're not talented. I'll say that. Doesn't mean you can play, but you do have talent because that's usually why you go first in the draft. But I mean, we saw it back at LSU. That team was not a winning team, did not make the NCAA tournament. He was just going through the motions because he felt that the rules were why he wasn't in the NBA, and he kind of just played when he wanted to play. And that's the problem I've always had. And when people have said that, I've always been like, yes. But I kind of thought he had gotten through all that because when he first got to play, obviously he missed his first season in the pros. He was injured. Mm-hmm. But when he came back, like he was an all-star, as you said, all defensive team guy,
Mm-hmm.
A tall guy who could do everything on the court, defend, score inside anyway. Like he could do all that.
Mm-hmm.
Then there was that playoff game where he literally had a dunk and passed it up. Like the easy 2 points. And ever since then, and the criticism from that, he has not been the same player. Whatever the reason is, I mean, I don't know how. I mean, I know one traumatic incident can affect someone forever, but I mean, dude, it was a basketball game. You didn't take a shot. Like next time, just dunk it, and then it's like Charles Smith, even though that was bigger, similar stakes, a little bit bigger for us. But like, dude, but he went on and had a productive career a little bit afterwards, like Charles Smith, and gone on. He still played. He was a productive player. This dude just fell off the bottom, just fell out, and he crashed. And I don't even know what to make of him anymore. So it's hard for me to want to bring someone like that into this team right now with a brand new coach.
Yeah.
We do have a culture here that I think will stick. I don't think that's going to change much. I do think, so I'd be very reluctant to bring him in unless, to your point, he comes in with like he might have an idea in his head, but they come in like, if you want to come here, you got to prove it every game, every practice, every minute that you're out there, that you are that player, that we can trust you to be that player. Because, I mean, it's crazy when I read that his signing is holding up the signings of Russell Westbrook and Malcolm Brogdon. And I'm like, these guys are still very productive basketball players. I might not like how Westbrook plays, but, I mean, he was a productive player last year on the Nuggets. And Brogdon's hurt, but when he's healthy, he's a productive player. So if I was the agent of those guys, I'd be like, I don't give a damn about Ben Simmons. Sign my guy. Like, why are we not? It's a weird thing of how this guy who we talked about has motivation issues, has motor issues, yet he's holding up the signings of those two guys.
It's insane. If that's what's happening, Lord.
Yeah, it's a weird. Like when I read that, I was like, that's odd. I don't get it.
Super talented.
I don't know. Talented. Exactly. It's the talent. It's got to be that's the thing. Like we always say, there's always one coach out there that says, I can get to him. I can unlock it.
And I do wonder if that's what Mike Brown's thing is. Mike Brown, the military background. Maybe he feels like he can get this guy right. If he let him come into the system. I do think he has the leadership in play where if he did come here, a guy like Jalen Brunson, probably the ideal leadership person. He kind of just puts his arms around everybody that comes in, and people love Jalen. When they come here, Carl Anthony Towns was just on the 7 p.m. Brooklyn speaking highly about Jalen Brunson. You think they're best friends. They're vacationing during the summer, and Carl Anthony Towns just got here. So Jalen gets the whole thing about how to network and be the guy that everybody tends to like. So maybe he can get to a guy like Ben Simmons. But the one thing I've learned about Ben Simmons is willing to, the old cliche about take his ball and go home. Oh, he'll take his ball, go right to the bench, pout.
It's true.
Just sit there with the ball. It's like, I don't want to do this no more. And I think there's a poison that can seep the water with that because, him being in he played in Brooklyn. And everybody knows, I always say there's just two different animals. Playing in the real part of New York, which is the Garden, you come in there with that lackluster crap, man, that's just the media's gonna talk about him all the time. The fans are gonna start to berate him on the sidelines. He gets in the game, if he's not giving effort, those are boo birds coming out and flocks. I just think, I wonder if he has, it could work two ways. He can maybe be motivated and say, let me prove what my next contract should be. Coming here, having a whole resurrection story. It can work sometimes in New York, but the downside, if it doesn't work, your career is over. Same thing we say with Tom Thibodeau. He probably coached his last NBA game because look where he coached at. And granted, he had great success, but all of his failures are also extremely highlighted. Because now you're seeing the Knicks say, well, we brought in this guy. He got us the furthest we've been, but that wasn't good enough. And now you're hearing, obviously, the leaks about what wasn't good in the locker room or what he wasn't doing productively right. So we moved to a guy like Ben Simmons. Does he want all that heat? I don't know if he wants to even go to Boston. Boston was supposedly the other one on his checklist, they're saying. But these markets, like, if you couldn't handle Philly, I don't think you want to handle New York or Boston either. I mean, it's kind of the same cut of cloth, although Philly is a little bit crazier. I don't know. I don't think he's, you might be better off going to Sacramento, or Charlotte to go play down there because they don't care about basketball like that. They're just showing up to the arenas and giving all their money away. There's no expectations involved, So he would be ideal on Orlando. I would think that would be a team he could have gone to and been a distributor for a guy like Powell and who else is there now? Desmond Bain, and the Wagner brothers. He could have went there, I think, and probably really, Mosley's a very good coach. So you would think maybe that would maybe be his niche to go there and say, let me try that kind of thing. But people are definitely avoiding Ben Simmons too because of all the stuff that we've highlighted about the question marks about do you bring this kind of malcontent into your locker room?
Yeah, that's the thing. All of those places, you're right. Ideally, for his talent, would probably be fantastic. But when you look at like Orlando, such a young team, do you want to bring a guy like that in there and possibly poison the locker room? I don't know. I don't think I would do it if I was them. I wouldn't consider it. So, like you said, it's strange that a player of his ability is even having to go this route because we know how talented he is. Mm-hmm. But teams aren't looking to sign him. And I think you're correct with your Mike Brown assessment too. Like Mike Brown probably does feel like we have and the leadership and we have the type of locker room that could absorb someone like him where it wouldn't impact if he doesn't work out, where it wouldn't be a negative impact to the roster. I mean, to the culture. So we'll see what happens with it. But I'm honestly, if gun to my head, I don't think he signs here. If I'm being honest, I don't think. Now, of course, an hour from now he will, but
another breaking news,
But I honestly don't see it happening.
I see Shamet more than I see Ben Simmons. Shamet makes a lot more sense given the Knicks could stand shooting. They do need more shooters, in my opinion. I don't think Clarkson's a scorer, not a shooter. The guys, Mikal and then OG, they're great corner people, but they're not shooters. I just think that a guy like Shamet was underutilized, obviously, by Thibodeau last season. Definitely during the playoffs. Clearly, we saw that. Just a better fit, better locker room dude who's going to be a professional, who's going to play two ways. And then he's not a headache. He's not going to give you no issues.
Exactly.
He's just going to compete. Yeah.
Yeah, so I agree with you there. If I had to choose between those two, he's who I'd pick.
Yeah.
And it's weird hearing me say that because even as close as 2 years ago, I would not have said that.
I know. Is there something?
I would have get Ben Simmons here. So, one guy who you mentioned before is kind of been dropping hints, but we don't know. And is Giannis Antetokounmpo. So there's been smoke around this specific move for a while. Like we heard it last year. We're hearing it this year. I don't know. I think he kind of likes playing that kind of role in the media with people, with news, with reporters, like, dropping stuff out there. I broke it down in the chat a couple days ago, and this is essentially my feelings on it, and I continue to feel that way. He's not the type who's going to publicly say, yes, I want to be moved somewhere. Mm-hmm. He has a strong connection to that city. Obviously, he won them the championship, so he doesn't want to burn that bridge, and I don't blame him. I wouldn't either. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean he won't say it behind the scenes and be like, we need to do something to get me out of here gracefully. And meaning Milwaukee is gonna have to be the ones that says, yes, we're rebuilding, and we think it's only fair to Giannis since he's heading towards the end of his career, on the second half of his career, that we move him somewhere he could still be a productive player. We thank you for whatever and being a star and all that. Like that to me is how it's going to happen. I cannot see them trading him in any other scenario. I can't see them saying, yes, we want to trade Giannis. Let's be honest, Milwaukee is not the hugest market. The fact that you have a star like him there, like the guy they had previously, I would probably say is Ray Allen. Like he was probably the last. What?
Yeah, Ray Allen or Michael Redd, if you want to consider. But it's probably
he was the other guy I was thinking. Right, but definitely Ray Allen was the last superstar player that they had, or star player that they had. So I mean, they don't go there that much. Yeah. They don't go to that city. Players don't choose to go to Milwaukee. So it would have to be in that kind of scenario. And I don't see it happening. Now, on the flip side, at least for me, I also would not be shocked if it did. So
Yeah, especially now.
that's kind of where I sit, Ty. What's your take on this? I mean, you kind of, when you talk about it, you're kind of like, maybe. Like, I kind of read between the lines in your messages, like, yeah, I could see it. Is that really how you feel? Because that's how I read your messages.
I think I could see it happening. The biggest thing for me with when they say the Knicks, the Knicks we're notorious as fan bases of overvaluing our talent. I like being right spot on about our talent. I think I mentioned earlier today in our collective thread, I said, well, the Knicks are one of those teams, they're a title contender. So collectively, the Knicks look like a great team. But when you're pooling together the talent, we don't have stars. We don't have those stars. We have a star, probably two stars with Carlton Towns. Once people see him for a full season with coaching in a training camp, you're going to see that he has the same ilk as Brunson does. He's going to be able to impact more. We always got to worry about how Tom Thibodeau was utilizing players. So we have not seen the best of any of these guys, in my opinion. But moving forward, I'm like, well, I know somebody threw out a trade. It was one of the fans says, oh, we could send OG Anunoby and somebody else for Giannis. I'm like, what, did the crack pipe fall out your pocket? That's not getting you. Are you serious? Because Carlton Towns may not get you Giannis. Like, that's the thing. Like, people are not thinking about the assets that it takes. Because I think that in order to get Giannis, you are actually trading off some of the players you have to other teams. Then you're acquiring assets to be able to forward back to Milwaukee. Hence why something like the Mikal Bridges. The Knicks have one thing. They've always seemed to be on point with knowing who would want their players and sending them to get what they want from them in return. So that seems to be a very strong point of this front office. But when thinking about it, I'm like, well, I think that was why a little bit of the play for Jason Kidd was about Giannis. In my estimation, I do buy that. I believe that Leon Rose is probably kicking the tire and say, hey, what do you think if we get him? Would you want to maybe think, because he's really a huge fan of Jason Kidd. Clearly, he wanted to go to bat for him and put his foot down and tell Milwaukee not to get rid of the coach. So I think that was a little bit of a play by the Knicks wanting to. So I'm believing he has eyes for New York. He stays here during the summer. He walks the streets like a New Yorker, unbothered. I mean, you got this 7-foot giant walking through, and he's just going to regular stores like, I don't care about this whole thing. I'm only sure there's a bigger Greek and African population clearly in New York as opposed to Milwaukee. So, he can find all the food he wants. I would say, tell people, if you're not from New York, probably wouldn't understand everything's in New York. So when you look at that dynamic, I'm thinking that it's a strong possibility he ends up here at some point. When you have a coach like Mike Brown, and same thing when you have Thibodeau. You got those guys, they're defensive coaches. That dude is yes, they want him. No offense to Cat, but yeah, they want him because of what he can bring. Like, you're bringing in a guy who, if you're able to hold on to some of those defensive assets you have, if you can keep OG Anunoby, or if you can keep Mikal Bridges, although I think OG is way better defender, but I'm saying there's potential to actually make that team into a different juggernaut defensively and offensively, and you let Brunson be the closer. So you're talking Giannis for 3 quarters and Brunson for the 4th quarter. You're winning a title. I don't think you're not, unless you're not healthy. So I can understand probably him looking at this opportunity too of wanting to go to a big market. We heard him say he'd love to. I'd love to see all the European players in big markets. He's telling people that. He's like, oh, I like Jokic in New York. Well, Jokic's probably not coming to New York. So we're talking about you probably coming to New York. He's definitely not, because look at it now. LA has Luka. So So the other markets are what? Chicago, which I don't think nobody's going there. I don't think nobody's ever going to Boston and New York, and nobody's going to Philly. That's a whole waste management going on over there.
Well, yeah, we could talk about that, but it would just sound like we're pissing on them. So we won't. Do that for now.
I'm like I got my pom poms out, here in the news, but not that I wish bad on anyone, but when looking at a guy like Giannis, I think he eyes New York because he's a personality. He would fit in the media would
Totally would, yes.
because he's gotten to the point where he understands how it works. He understands being in front of the camera a lot more. He's a chirper. He likes talking. He likes hearing himself talk. They would eat him up in New York as far as from a media standpoint. And his motor, what he fits here. He absolutely fits everything about New York. So I'm thinking that he probably has his eyes. I don't think he's going to push out of Milwaukee. He seems like a very loyal dude. He's really into, he's always wanted to be with one franchise. He's expressed that way before this part of free agency came about, or the thought of free agency, or asking out. He's like the Dame Lillard of Milwaukee. That's what he is. He probably doesn't want to go anywhere. He wants to be competitive so he can win a title. But he can't win a title in Milwaukee unless by some grand luck. They don't have the assets. They've coughed up a lot of assets to get that one ring. Then they mismanaged getting Dame instead of probably keeping Drew Holiday. They should have just kept Drew and seen what happened from there. But the Dame Lillard signing was just a bad signing when it happened, or a bad acquisition. Love Dame, but that just never made any sense for Milwaukee, in my opinion. You just got.
I mean, they did.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I mean, I agree with all of you, everything you said about Giannis. And I brought up in the chat too, I said I hear a lot of people, well, we'll just trade Towns. I'm like, if they're trading Giannis, they're not going to trade for a guy like Towns. This is a rebuild. So if they're trading Giannis, they want picks and young players, and that's it.
Yeah.
So, and like I said, and I said as well, the Knicks would probably need a third team at this point to try to facilitate something like that, because as we said before with Bridges, those were their assets. Those were their picks. Yep. They gave them up to get him. So I think Knicks, like you said, New York would love him. Media would love him. The fans would love him because his motor is nonstop and he plays defense at a high level, and everything about what New Yorkers like. Everything you love about Josh Hart, this guy is times 50, right? Like he is that perennial MVP candidate. That's what he is. Every year he has a chance to win the award. So, yes, all of those things are 100% true. But the flip side, like I spoke about and you said as well, is he's a loyal guy, doesn't want to be perceived as a bad guy, doesn't want to say, oh, get me out of here. Like I said, it would have to be some kind of way where the Bucks could control it and he can go then and not burn that bridge with the fan base and everything he did there. So it's going to be interesting to monitor as things go on. As you said, their roster, I like Miles Turner a lot. I don't know if that would be enough to make me want to stay somewhere.
Yeah.
But I think for how they play, he's a very good fit for them.
Yeah.
So I think that was a good move for them. They did give him a lot of money. He got paid. So that's the other side on it. I know they acquired Cole Anthony. They've made some moves to get a little bit younger. I just don't know if the core is there anymore for them to make him happy and to be a contender. He obviously, with him on a team, you're always going to be close to a contender, if not a contender, with a few pieces.
Yeah, that's right.
But I don't know if they have enough. However, they did extend Jericho Sims, so we and we drafted him, so we know. No, I'm joking, obviously, about Jericho Sims.
We're gonna happen.
Yeah, but I mean, they still have Portis, they have Trent Jr. Like they have decent players around him, so it's gonna be interesting to see how this all plays out. But again, like you said, if he wants a big market, and with Luka being in LA, I can't see another big market that he would want to go to, especially as you said as well. He might even have a house here where he's here all the time, shopping and stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting to watch how the Giannis situation pans out with the Bucks, and if the Knicks are actually going to be a realistic destination. So we brought up Luka, and we brought up that you brought up that he got extended. He got extended for 3 years, a total of $165 million. He could have signed a 4-year, $229 million deal, but he opted for a different, shorter contract to maintain a little bit of flexibility. So that word is always interesting to me, especially when it comes around a team like the Lakers, because you would think if I'm a Laker, I want to be a Laker for life. Like, why would I want to go anywhere else? It's one of the premier franchises in the NBA, tons of championships. It's Los Angeles, beautiful climate, all that stuff. But then we read things like D'Angelo Russell saying he learned more about what it was to be a professional and grew more as a player in Brooklyn.
Of all places.
Than the Lakers. So when I read into the tea leaves and I see he only signed for 3 years, keeping that flexibility open, I ask, is it for life? I don't think it's for life. I think Luka will play somewhere else. Ty, you're shaking your head. Back that up. Why do you think he'll be somewhere else soon?
Let me tell you, I looked at when he got traded to the Lakers. There was a time where, I always tell people my favorite player is Magic Johnson, so I follow his career. I'm a big Magic Johnson fan. Lakers always had that lore about them. It was the thing that everyone wanted to go to LA. It was just two markets. It was either LA or Boston at that time, but LA had that thing about them. People went there. It's the reason why they seem to get every free agency. We saw it with Shaq sign there, leaving Orlando. It's always been the big thing to do. And then it's this iteration of the Lakers ownership. I mean, now we got a new owner, but I'm just saying, I'm going to say like the Jeannie Buss fighting with her brothers era of the Lakers, that it's they just knocked the chrome off the bumper. It was never the same franchise. So when you hear a guy like D'Angelo Russell, who we know what his antics happened in the locker room between him and Nick Young, that obviously got him blackballed to a degree within the NBA locker rooms. But he still managed to say how dysfunctional the Lakers were, that they never taught him the one thing that he was there for, which is basketball. It never was about basketball. So we forward in looking at the LeBron era, when him coming to LA, and it wasn't never about basketball. It was never a basketball move. This was a career move for LeBron. This was for him to go there and drink wine while he's resting. It was the whole being Mr. Hollywood. I mean, it's almost Hollywood Hogan in a sense. Terrible, kind of like you went out there for, you went out there for that whole essence of being Hollywood. So I don't think the Lakers have been about basketball for a very long time. And I think the league knew about that, players in the league. It's why when free agency always happened, no one ever went to LA. They're like, oh, they don't want to play with LeBron and that circus that he always seems to create around the team. So now you have new ownership, and Luka probably is like, well, the buses are still on, I think, still part of the ownership group. Yeah. He's wondering, well, let me give this a trial run. I'm not sold on. I didn't want to come here. They made me come here. I'm going to show he would have been extremely happy retiring in Dallas. He loved playing in Dallas. When he looks at that market, if he plans on wanting to win, I don't know if that's – I mean, they have a shot maybe this year, being that he's in the kind of condition he is. He may, if he has a good running mate. I don't think it's LeBron is the running mate he needs. I think if the Lakers were smart, they'd find a suitor for him, which I don't think they would be able to. But they need to probably get a player in that actually matches more what Luka does. LeBron's not ideal for it because they're kind of like redundant players in a sense. And although I think Luka's way more obviously offensively talented than LeBron is from a scoring standpoint. But he's looking at that, the long picture. I was laughing. I said, I didn't know Luka was launching a shoe line, because I'm like, is he launching a shoe line? Because he was around New York. I mean, like the kind of being around New York was like, oh, Donovan Mitchell was in New York. These things going to the Knicks, like hanging out, like I'm not going home. I'm going to stay here. And he seemed to love the flirtation of being in a market like this as well. Not saying he's coming here, but I'm just saying he seemed to be flirting quite hard. Like he probably would enjoy being courted by a team of his choice for once, as opposed to being pushed to LA. Because obviously, what he's going to turn on the money? Why would he ever turn on the money? These guys are not turning on the money anymore. Those days, Brunson's one of the few people that have turned down. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander also turning down that kind of, Brinks truck. Most guys are not. So he took the security and he's like, oh, I'm getting in shape. Maybe we'll win here. We'll see what happens. And to me, 3 years is a see what happens. I don't know if he has a player option on that third year or not. He might have a player option. If he has a player option, then the Lakers should be extremely scared if he has a player option on that third year, because that means an exit plan. That means he can go and hit the market and go wherever the hell he wants. Because I think they have a 2 or 3 year window to actually tell him where they're going to go with the franchise and see if he can be competitive. Like, he was happy in Dallas. It wasn't like he was trying to get out of Dallas. So, and they just went to the finals. So what is he playing for? He's not playing for the numbers. He's obviously playing to get back to the big dance.
According to this, he does have a player option for that third year.
Yeah. La La Land. I'm just going to tell you, I better watch out, because those players, Jokic has one too. I always tell people, those are when players have player options and they're not in the title contention for those years. There's nothing keeping them there other than money. And if they felt like they've earned enough and they're trying to see green, you can earn the money and get traded. It doesn't matter. He can have a trial running in. I mean, he loves him some Jalen Brunson. That's what I'm going to tell you. I'm not trying to say he'll in here, but man, he loves some Jalen. That's for sure. He would fit in. He'd be great. He's got to be in New York. That's for sure.
I think both of their contracts end at the same time, actually.
Yeah. Look,
So,
I'm just saying.
I don't know how that would work, but yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, it is for all the reasons you said. And I mean, like, I know he said he wanted a little flexibility towards the end, and I believe a little bit of flexibility for the Lakers, because obviously if he took the 4 years, I think it's a little bit more money, so it restricts them even more. But the next contract, he can set a record. He can make $418 million over 5 years with his next contract. So, like, I see it from a financial standpoint, just strictly that way. I see the plan, but I think part of it for him is, like, I think he knows, like, obviously LeBron's time is coming to an end, right? So I think in his head, he's like, all right, he goes, I'll play this year with LeBron. Who knows? He might retire next year, right? So then he goes, I'll have 2 years here, and it'll be 2 years for me to see what I could do. Mm-hmm. If I'm good and things work out and we have a team, then maybe I'll stay. Mm-hmm. But players around the NBA, not just Luka, but a lot of players, like you said, you brought up Jokic's deal as well. There's a lot of players doing that to have a little bit more of control of their own careers. Yep. And you brought up perfectly, Luka was drafted by Dallas and then traded to LA. He didn't pick either spot. Mm-hmm. Same thing like when Carmelo Anthony did for his second contract here, when he said it, like, I was drafted by Denver and I got traded to the Knicks. Mm-hmm. He said he wanted that experience, the wining and dining, all that. He said he wanted that experience. And as much as these players get, trust me, when it's for your job, I'm sure it's a huge ego boost, even for guys who have everything, to have billionaires, because NBA owners are billionaires, supporting you and wanting you to play for them. I'm sure that is a big ego boost. So it's going to, again, another interesting situation to see how it plays out in the next few years. What happens in LA? Austin Reeves is up for a contract extension. Yeah. He had a fantastic year last year. He's up. He can make up to $30 million a year, I think I read. So they're going to have to figure out what's going on there.
I think he's walking too. I think he's gone. That's my opinion.
Yeah. The longer it goes, I would agree with you.
He's one of those guys, and I shout out to Jonathan Clark, who's obviously LeBron. He owns the short set and all that stuff. So, but I kept telling him when they were talking about the bobblehead dolls and the tie bears and all that stuff. But when looking at the Lakers, the one thing I was always saying about, even when AD was there, I'm like, why are they not featuring Austin Reeves more? He's a talent. He's the guy that should have, had they worked more to kind of make him part of the big three, if you want to. I don't like using that term. I hate that term, big three. There's not a lot of big threes. But I'm saying that that's your trifecta or the core of your team. I just think he had way more to give. Obviously, he's a little bit of a defensive liability, but the guy he's a bucket. He's a talent. So I just think that he's probably been underappreciated. He's been linked to the Knicks also. That's one of the things they think the Knicks might look at him when he decides to bounce. So we'll see. But, a guy like that, they should utilize more. But I think he's probably out because now he knows he's not going to play. Luka's got the ball and LeBron's got the ball. He's never seeing that ball. He's never going to see, unless you're a catch and shoot dude. If you're a person that likes operating and doing a little isolation work, you're not going to see. I don't see how Luka and LeBron even going to work. To be honest, I still think that's. I don't.
That's if LeBron, the only way it works is if LeBron realizes, okay, this is not my show anymore, and I have to take a back seat. And I do not see that happening at all.
Not at all.
So that guy's ego is way too big, and I feel like his ego has gotten worse as he's gotten older. Like most guys, it kind of dies down. Not him.
Oh no.
He was so much more tolerable as a younger player, even when in his prime, like when he was at the peak of his powers. I felt like he was more tolerable to at least listen to speak. Now I'm like, dude, shut up! You just sound like a cranky old player. Like I don't want to hear your voice anymore. So
I think it's funny. Like he does like little. Like you look at LeBron and he's almost 40 years of age, and you see him as the elder statesman. And then you see things like he's working out in the Clippers locker room, in the gym. And like, it's like, what are we doing? Why would you even, like, you're doing little passive things that are like, you're too old for that, dude. Or we've had a great relationship with the Lakers. Just say that the owner came in and said, it's my team. This is what that's all about. The owner came in and said, whatever business you've been doing before with Jeannie, I'm no longer Jeannie. So some things are going to change around here. Rich Paul, you do not help run the front office. It'll be Rob Pelinka's job moving forward. And it's going to be my job as the owner to make the last decision. Jeannie Buston powered LeBron and Rich Paul like they were friends hanging out. And that's the reason why he's throwing a little bit of a tantrum about wanting to get out. But that $50 million or whatever extension, nobody's biting on that.
That was his option. He just exercised it.
Yeah. Nobody's going to trade for that. That's a month. You have to cripple your whole team.
That's exactly why he did it.
Yep. So it's like nobody's going to, I know the Knicks fans were like, oh, shout out to Allen, he's like, go trade for him. You nuts?
I know. We talked about that the last show we did. I remember that's when that news came out, and I said, no, thank you. No. You had your chance, and you chose not. You chose to take your talents to South Beach, and at that point, LeBron was dead to me. You're dead to me. I never want you playing for my team.
Yeah, it's been
the fact that some Knicks fans do, especially someone of our age group.
Yeah, it makes me
like that makes no sense to me.
Yeah, whatsoever. That's nasty work, as they say. That's real nasty work.
It is nasty work. Speaking of our age group and of the glory years of the Knicks, Patrick Ewing yesterday celebrated his 63rd birthday. God makes me feel really old as well. But yes, Patrick Ewing celebrated his 63rd birthday. The Knicks kind of did this nice little tribute to him on social media. I saw a couple of the clips and stuff. It was very cool to see. He is my favorite basketball player ever. So for me, it's cool to see that the Knicks now have welcomed him back. I still have no idea why they had that weird period, but
I have no idea.
We saw him, right? We saw him in the playoffs last year. He was showing up every game, sitting on the sidelines, rooting, supporting, and it's where he belongs. So it's awesome to see him back. And as one of, again, growing up, I had three athletes that I loved. Don Mattingly of the Yankees.
Classic.
Yep. Al Toon of the Jets. He was a wide receiver for the Jets. Mm-hmm. And then Patrick Ewing, of course, was the third, who I hated when he was at Georgetown, being a St. John's fan. But once he became a Knick, that completely changed. And I became a fan of Patrick Ewing's. And again, never won the title, but you could never question his effort or want to.
No,
that's the one thing we could never question with Pat. He left everything out on the court. And
the Knicks did a disservice to him too. They never talk about two. Well, I always compare him a little bit to Dominique Wilkins. Dominique was one of those guys I wish they played together because they were also one of those uber super talented guys who just never had that other all-star to play alongside them. So I always said, wow, I can imagine those two could have played together. They probably have a ring in New York, to be honest. Yeah, the Knicks, up until now, I will often bring this up to you guys in the thread. I'm like, well, up until now, the Knicks have never been great at building a roster. You know, this is like the most complete team I've seen in my whole Knickdom of watching. You know, I didn't see Walt and all those dudes play, which I'm
Me neither.
the first, the greatest version of a full team.
Yeah.
But most of the time, when you move forward, when we've had a star or superstar, whether it was Bernard King, he'd have little secondary players. You get Patrick, Bernard gets hurt. They never play together. You move forward. Patrick gets Mark Jackson one year. He gets Rod Strickland the next year. Everybody's like flipping a coin, like, no, there's no coin. Keep Rod, trade Mark. It's like, nah, I'm going to keep Mark. I'm going to trade Rod. There's never been like this perfect balance or tandem for the team or as a unified group. So Patrick never had a shot. He was the shot. He was the dude that a lot fell on his shoulders. He wasn't meant to be the scorer that he became.
Right.
I wanted him to be a defensive. He was the Mitchell Robinson, but way better. When you think about defense, for those kids or young people that don't know who Patrick was in college, he was that dude. He was nasty, shot blocking, snarly, not friendly. People usually hate him. He was dripping a whole puddle of an ocean on your floor. The gray T-shirt underneath, absolutely soaked. He was that dude. The Hoyas were not liked, because they all had scowls on their face. When he came along, Dikembe probably was the friendliest one out of all of them and wasn't as despised. But Patrick was a despised player in college, and like Eric is a Johnny's fan. I was a Johnny's fan too. Like when they came in, nobody liked them. So, and Patrick probably fit more of his personality. I think as he got older, he kind of wanted to be liked, and he was awkward at that point to kind of embrace the fan base and get them on his side. Now people cheer for him and got a lot of respect for Patrick. But yeah, he was that dude. I just think the Knicks never did enough for him. Never. Starks wasn't an answer to put next to one of the top 50 players. It's a tragedy.
Right. By the time they acquired like Allen Houston and Larry Johnson, I think that was the year they got them was where he hurt his wrist, and then he was never the same player afterwards.
Yeah.
So
Jerome Lang, right? Was it Jerome Lang?
No, it was Andrew Lang.
Andrew Lang. I said Jerome Lang. Andrew Lang. He was I mean, that probably cost us a chance. Nick Luck. But
that and the suspensions, but I don't want to go down there because that Knicks Bulls series would have been probably the best one of all the ones we got.
Oh, absolutely. Like you always said, that was their shot. And
yes,
it's like that's why I always tell people that are Knicks fans, like when I'm out and people see me with the hat on, if they're Knicks fans, they want to chirp and talk it up. And I'm like, well, this is our closest time to get into a ring. So it's like, that's why Knicks fans are like very nervous more so. It's a great energy to have, but we are realizing that we can't blow opportunities. So Mike Brown coming in, we knew Tom Thibodeau had to make, we wanted him to adapt, but we know that was never going to happen. So lo and behold, we have Mike Brown. Prayers to him that he comes in with a good enough scheme to coach, not overcoach, just coach him enough to where these guys can excel and hopefully stay healthy and be able to compete for a title, because I think this is our only shot in the next 4 years. So let's make the best of it.
I agree. This is our window right now. I mean, especially when you look at what happened, like the injuries, Halliburton's injury, Tatum's injury. I mean, the Knicks should be either the best team in the East next year or close to it.
They can't do it next year.
Yeah, they should be the favorites to win the conference. I mean, yes, Detroit will be better, 100%. Orlando will be better, 100%. I totally think those two teams are going to be threatening. Milwaukee, again, if everything works out, they have Giannis, they should be a threat. We didn't talk about Philly because Embiid apparently is in a whole hell kind of a situation that that of course he earned, in my opinion. So
that is the great. I don't like gloating over injuries because I really don't. But
all right,
he was one of those dudes that you don't wish it, but you understand it because it's like what you did to Mitchell Robinson. Shout out to Mitch. What he did to Mitchell Robinson was criminal, and to never get fined for it. Now we're seeing the reaps of karma coming around, saying, "Okay, you wanted to be a little cornholio. Now here's that knee."
Yeah, not even, and not just Mitch. Like he's done it to a lot of players. He's just and again, I don't wish injury on anybody either. I never want to see players get hurt.
Exactly.
But I mean, this time when I read the story, I was kind of like, like I shrugged my shoulders, like,
what time is Sizzler's open? That's my thing now.
Yep. What goes around comes around, right? What goes around, like you said, karma's going to get you eventually.
Like, look at that.
Karma will get you. So
yeah, Philly's not and it's so funny for me. I like basketball to be very competitive. I like when the markets are like all thriving and it's a competitive basketball, and it's great when the big cities are great. But
yes,
but in this particular case, that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely have they have talent. They have talented players.
Yeah.
Do they have enough to compete without Embiid being Embiid? Probably not. But I mean, what's Paul George going to be this year too? That's another question. I have no idea.
Well, we know what he is. He's a stagecoach robber because that's all he's doing is taking money because that's what is never.
I mean, it seems like his podcast is more important to him right now than anything else.
Well, I was laughing. His nickname is Playoff P. It was like, well, did you pee during the playoffs? I mean, because I'm not trying to understand. Are you walking around with that name? And damn well, you're not him. You look like you were about to be him, but you're not. So it's like, shout out to Tyrese because I'm wondering what he's going to ask out. I'm shocked he's not like sitting there like thinking like this ain't gonna work.
It's kind of a weird place to be in because as long as Embiid is there, like he'll never have that the I guess the label as the franchise player. Like as long as Embiid is there, he's gonna have that label. Like George, whatever, at this point, he's not a franchise player for anybody. But Maxey, statistics wise, he's their best player because he's he actually plays. So so I mean, it's gonna be. You're right. It's gonna be. That's another situation to watch for people. I'm not saying for us. I just mean globally in the NBA, just to watch his situation because it's gonna get to the point with him too, where he's like, I can't win here, or this is a circus with this guy. I don't know what to expect, and yeah. So back to the original point, the Knicks honestly should be the top. At least seen as the top seed. I think they were second in the power rankings. I think you posted that too.
Second behind KC. I think it's I think it's earned. I think they are the second best team on paper in the NBA.
Yep. So we'll see. We will see what happens, but we're gonna go for now. We're gonna say goodbye for now. We did a show. We just want to remind everyone that we are still here. We haven't gone anywhere. We're just enjoying our summer, but we wanted to link up. And do a show for you guys, just discuss the stuff that's been going on because there has been NBA news, there has been Knicks news, and we have been silent. But it's cool that all this stuff happened within the last week because it was kind of a good time for us to come back and do a show. So, as always, thanks everybody for watching. Everyone who watches, everyone who participates in the show, who participates on the webpage. On the Facebook page. We appreciate the interaction. Ty, any closing thoughts?
Oh, man, just pray that we stay healthy going into this season. It's an exciting time, obviously, for the Knicks. I think we're less than 60 days from the start of the season or the beginning of the season, which meaning training camp and all media day, and et cetera. Just looking forward to that. It's a good time to be a Knicks fan. Let's just stay hopeful. And, and hopefully we have Mitchell Robinson sticks around also. That's a topic we didn't talk on, but we'll talk on the next show. About Mitchell.
Yeah, we'll explore that the next time we're out. There's obviously some situation there that we need to monitor as well. What they do with him, whether they keep him or decide to move on from him as well. We'll see how that plans out. But yeah, it's something we have to keep an eye on. But let's be honest, everyone out there, the Yankees suck right now. The Mets I thought were playing well, and now they suck too.
Yeah, welcome to New York.
Don't expect anything from the Jets or the Giants. I can tell you guys right now, I'm a lifelong Jets fan. Of course, I will be rooting for them, but don't expect anything great from either team. I wouldn't expect playoff runs. I'm hopeful the Jets can make the playoffs, but the AFC's tough. Yeah, and if you're into hockey, I don't know. The Rangers and Islanders are kind of in a weird space too. So the only team, I mean, forget the Nets. The only team we really have in New York to look forward to is the Knicks. The Knicks actually,
or the Liberty.
Yes, my fault.
These are the
Liberty as well.
Laugh at the women all you want, but this is the only title we've had in New York.
That's true. They're the title team from last year, and they're a good team this year too. So, yeah, you can follow the Liberty, but as far as the male dominated sports, it's just really in New York. You only have the Knicks. No other team looks really good right now. With all due respect to like the Red Bulls and NYFC or like I don't know soccer, but if they're good, you can watch them too. But but of the four majors, let me do it that way. The Knicks are the other show right now. So gear up, get ready, enjoy the rest of the summer. We'll be back. We'll see. Maybe next week, maybe 2 weeks. We'll let you know. Just pay attention to the page. We will definitely let you know when the next show is going to be happening. Again, we have travels. Some of us might be going somewhere. Family stuff pop up, so we can't always do a show. But if we are here on a Wednesday, we will try and be here. Let's put it that way. We'll try and be here. All right. So for Ty, I'm Eric. You are watching All Nicked Up. See you next time.